fuzzy, but it's cool. So on today's video, I am going to be recapping the new moon in Aries that transited, the transit that happened on April 9th, and also the solar eclipse that happened the day before on the 8th. And I want to talk a little bit about the energy, and I usually do so through talking about the human design transits, giving you guys some self-care tips and tools, and writing prompts to guide you through this energy. So as I talked to you guys before, if you're new to this video, welcome. But for my followers who have been watching my videos, you know that the Instagram posts have the graphics as well as all the information that I'll be covering today. And this is kind of a video talking through the information with you guys and giving a little bit more input, information, advice, etc., whatever comes to mind. The goal originally, of course, was to record these videos at the times of the transit for whatever reason. My patterning has not allowed for that because I do prioritize being home with my baby and being a stay-at-home mom first and facilitating things for my family. But also, this is a passion for me to cover the transits, experience the transits, and share the information with you guys. So for my last video, the full moon in Libra, I know that the live unfortunately had horrible audio quality as well as just the image quality wasn't that great. So this will probably be one of the last times I do my full moon videos as a live. So know that if you have difficulty watching the previous videos, that I will be changing back to recording the videos when I have a time to and then adding them on here. So let's hop into this transit as it was packed with tons of energy, and the total solar eclipse, also called the Great American Eclipse, because it went across the United States from Texas. I think it went all the way through Maine. And yeah, I just am here to share the energy with you guys. It has been a crazy week for me. A lot of wonderful things have been happening. I've been able to get back in a yoga studio. I was a hot eight yoga, I wouldn't say teacher, but I was teaching community classes there, and also just part of the community, being a regular practitioner of yoga in a studio. And it was really, really nice being able to kind of get in the groove again. But part of what inspired me to do that was just feeling the shocks of the eclipse, which is interesting because Human Design Gate 51 transited during this time. And also just knowing that because the turbulence and energy of the world was so heightened, it was important for me to ground myself and be in community with other grounded people. So I know that I'm going to hop into my self-care later in this video, but if you have been thinking about grounding more, this is a great time to do so. All right. So the new moon in Aries. So as I mentioned, we had a solar eclipse, which was really, really epic. And I actually want to link with you guys how I watched the solar eclipse, because I wasn't really privy on going outside and seeing it. I do listen to and try to take heed to cultures that are indigenous or have practices that have just been around for a long time. And a lot of Native American chiefs and people who are very tied to the land, they were saying that it's not really a good thing to look at the eclipse directly. One, it could be really, really bad for your eyesight. And I know a lot of people were looking at it and probably hurt their eyes. But two, when you think about it, it's kind of like the moon and the sun are commingling energetically. And this could be like kind of watching the moon and the sun have coitus. So that's also kind of like a very private act, right? So part of the culture is to be inside and focus inwardly as the moon and sun are passing each other. That energy still is affecting us for positive, but not necessarily having to see it. So I don't like to get too caught up in, you know, what you call it? I want to just say stereotypes, but I mean to say why is the word not coming to me? I don't like getting caught up in the superstition of these things, but I do think that when a culture has practices that have been long standing and they have a deep connection to the earth, it's good to at least hear it out, right? But however you chose to view the eclipse, I'm sure you're fine. It's really about being grounded and being intentional in whatever you do and being positive, having a positive view and looking to see the best in things is really going to help you through this season and any time. So now let's hop into some of the mantras I wrote for the new moon in Aries. So the new moon in Aries is coming. We're still at the very beginning of an astrological new year. We're setting intentions. We're writing things down. We're manifesting through the activity that we do. So if you know that you want to lose weight, or if you know that you want to change your diet, now is a really, really good time to implement practices that will help you do so on a consistent basis, and also have accountability partners. Aries is ruled by the head. It's all about like the mind and the mental energy. But know that Aries opposes Libra, and Libra is all about harmony and partnerships. So even when our personal goals, it can be really, really impactful to connect with others and have like-minded community in order to see the changes and results we want to see. So the mantras I have activity is the strategy. So activity is the strategy is really going down to the roots of we can plan however we want, but if we are not in the active steps of our plan, then we are not moving with strategy and we are not being strategic. So it's really, really important to do, to be in motion, to be in movement, and to prioritize the physical aspects of achieving the things we want. Oftentimes, I'm going to bring this up very briefly because it did impact many of us during the eclipse. But if you were in the spiritual community and you read some of the news that was happening around this time of, people of different spiritual groups that kind of became fanatical about the new moon that recently transited and the eclipse, it can be very jarring. But it's a reminder that it is all about perception. It is about how you choose to take the information of what is happening in the sky. That is going to impact you more than what is happening in the sky. Fate matters, and yes, there's an element of fate, but within the fate of our charts and our design is a wealth of ability to have limitless potential and expand within that. And if you are understanding how to balance both energies of the spiritual and the physical, this will be a great time for major growth and for setting yourself up for over the next 18 months, because eclipses are always bringing to light things of the past. So you also might have seen that or experienced something from the past coming to a close, or maybe feeling the healing. I also talked about this with the full moon in Libra, because we had the full moon in Libra, which was highlighting the relationship part of it, and then with any full moon, it's opposing the sign that's opposite of it. So with a full moon in Libra, you're going to feel the energy of Aries, and similarly with this new moon in Aries, we are going to feel the remnants of Libra. So think about that. If you had closed the chapter in during the full moon in Libra season, how are you opening yourself up in new ways to new communities and new people now? The next mantra I had for this new moon in Aries was keep it moving. Part of understanding life and getting through difficult periods is being able to just continue going on. In a previous video, I think it was a few moon cycles back, I talked about the Ouroboros, which is this image of the serpent or the snake eating itself. And when you think of the Ouroboros, it's really a reminder that although the snake loses its skin, its identity, it still is what it is. It still is being. So similarly, we can go through these different moon phases and cycles, and we can shed different aspects of ourselves, but the soul will always be there. So what our priority should always be is tending to that soul, making sure that We are grounded in the reality that we are human beings on a physical plane, and it's about what we do on this physical plane that will set us up for our next life or next adventure as matter when we die, right? So with that, part of it is keep it moving. The Ouroboros also reminds us that with the cycle of death and rebirth, it's a continual cycle. This hair growing out my head, it's dead already. These nails, although these are press-ons, but I mean gel X, I did it myself. But underneath it is nails, is dead nail. Because we are dying. As humans, alive humans, you are continually dying, you are continually aging, but you also are continually being reborn. So here's that reminder, keep it moving. That friendship didn't work out, keep it moving. That job fired you, keep it moving. That apartment is having issues, keep it moving, find a new place to be. This is the season for that. And kind of like writing those things down. Oh my gosh, thank you, girl. I think it's called Art Box. You literally could buy these yourself. Amazon has great different press-ons that you can buy, and I literally just painted it with clear. It already comes in this new tint. Please, I will try to remember to link it because I know that, hey, people may want that information too. So I will link where you can find these nails. They're really easy to put on, and other than the two that fell off, gang gang, I've had them on for 2 weeks. So when you use the Gel X nails, it can last really long. And part of keep it moving is also changing your identity, knowing that, hey, something doesn't serve me, I'm going to change it. Changing your nails, changing your hair to fit more of who you are. You're absolutely so welcome. All of those things matter. This month, and honestly, in the past 6 months, I've had such a revelation of perception and how people, the society, prioritizes beauty more than they prioritize value. So if you're someone who has a lot of value and can bring a lot of value, and then you know that you can make yourself look good and take care of yourself, you're only going to amplify the goodness within you and bring that message. Of course, don't let it precede, what matters, but know that that's a hack. People judge off of appearance, and making yourself look as good as possible is also going to help amplify you when you are in a space of service. All right, so now let's talk about some themes. So the root of my hair is very curly, so I'm naturally like just moving it around because I see it popping out on my curls. So here are some new moon intentions that I've written. Well, not intentions, themes rather. So intention, potent, writing, meditation, listening, truth, renewal, and awakening. And gate 51, the human design gate of shock, the city frequency here is awakening. So know that when you get shocking news or anything in life shocks you, whether it's physically, because shock is all about the physical vibration of energy going through your body, since we are energy beings and we are literally made up of vibration. um, know that it's how you transmute that energy that can be beneficial or not to you. So it's really, really important to allow, when shocking situations happen, time for yourself to go through the emotional wave so that you can show up as your best self and transmute the shock into something positive. Oh, and previously, when I mentioned that people were very just like fearful of the solar eclipse, and if you were someone who's in the spiritual community, you might have seen different news events or articles about situations that happened during that time. Um, know that it was meant to help transmute an energy within the collective that wasn't positive. And it was helping to bring to light the importance of fear not ruling over love. So, love should always be the frequency we are striving to be in and rule us. What happens is when we get caught up in fear or argument or just being in a state of discord with ourselves and other people, we create more of that frequency or vibration in the world. And once we do that, that permeates more of what we don't want to see. So, prioritizing our inner being, prioritizing our vibrational being, because if everything is made up in vibrations and we are agitated, which is the shadow frequency of the 51st gate, that is going to cause more havoc. But if we are focusing on bringing our bodies to homeostasis, being grounded, being in balance, we'd almost feel like we are unmovable in a space where everything else around us is chaotic. And that is what I hope for you guys. I hope for peace. I hope for calm. I hope for stillness and just the ability to enjoy life with a lot of love and no fear, hopefully. I say no, but I know it's part of the human experience, but with as little fear as possible. Absolutely. The new moon in Aries is absolutely going to affect you if your moon is in Aries. You might be affected in two ways. It might be bringing up themes that relate to yourself and identity. And it also might be affecting you in the sense that um, you might feel very just in tune emotionally with everything around you. I know that today the moon is in Cancer, and I'm a Cancer rising, which is a very prominent placement. It's not necessarily exactly like my moon is in Cancer, but just being a Cancer rising and having a prominent placement, I feel into the energy, and I also feel very comfortable. I feel very connected to my emotions today. So that might be something you're feeling. Also, the moon in Aries can have you feeling like you need to get things done. It can have you feeling anxious, even if you're someone who has a lot of things on your mind and wants to start something but not physically doing it. The moon in Aries could be a great time for you to actively get up and start that thing, or set an intention at least. And so now let's talk about what I wrote for the energy reading. I hope that helps. Thank you. The new moon in Aries arrived right after total solar eclipse. This past eclipse season came with shocking news and events asking us to shake up our foundations and reassess what matters most. For me personally, I found out that someone in the spiritual community was actually probably experiencing a major mental health crisis. And I think it's a reminder that when you are someone connecting with people online, including myself, always remember to check the energy. And if you see that that person's energy is starting to lean towards information or news that you're not receiving, it's okay to unfollow or block or delete. You do not have to continue consuming content with something that doesn't align with you. And unfortunately for that person, I don't feel like there was anyone around who felt like they can speak to them before it got as bad as it did. But know that if you are also someone in a space where you're emotionally unwell, prioritize finding close community that can hear you and see you. And I would do my best to stay offline, because a lot of times people come online and they're not operating in a space of empathy. That's where they dump their information, where they release stress and tension and their vibrations, right? So it's just a reminder to uh, use social media and use the internet as a tool and a force for good. But also, part of being a force for good is removing yourself from energy when you feel like it's leaning towards toxicity. Because whatever we continue to consume, we continue to promote. And that's kind of been my biggest takeaway during this full moon is, oh, if I want to, I might have the intention of following a spiritualist or following another account for the sake of, inspiring, or I mean, being supportive and wanting to amplify other people's message. But now, especially with the new moon in Aries, it's about how do I release needing to validate others and how do I start validating myself? Because people change. We are all energy beings that literally have a spirit flow through us. Like, we are souls, right? So a lot of times when you see someone's identity majorly shift, it's because of that. It's because no human being is predictable. Ariana, go ahead. So yeah, be mindful of that. And I'll wait. I'll finish this as you write your question. So eclipses mark a time of secrets being revealed, hidden agendas exposed, and chapters and cycles closing out of our lives so that we can begin again. So for many people, the chapter and cycle had to do. Oh, my necklace was actually, I bought it off of a small vendor. And this was years ago. It was an old neighbor. So I'm sure you can find on Etsy a similar necklace because I feel like he bought this jewelry wholesale and just resold it. I'm actually really impressed with the quality of this because I pretty much have it on all the time. I kind of wear my jewelry until it falls apart and then I get new jewelry. So yeah, I'm sure you can like literally look up evil eye or eye necklace on Etsy and probably find a similar one. And I'm really impressed with the quality of costume jewelry or just like gold plated jewelry in this day and age because before, baby, something like this from Forever 21 will pop in 2 seconds. Oh yeah, and then during this time, our conscious sun transited gate 51, the gate of shock, and our conscious earth was in gate 57, the gate of the shaman, also known as the gentle wind. So this energy foreshadows the beginning of collective change as these agitations leave us wanting to take initiative over our own lives and awaken. So the the gift of the 51st gene key, which is the gate of shock, is initiative. And for me, I got a lot of like confidence to take initiative when I realized like I pour a lot of time and energy into folks that I want to help amplify their message, but then I realize like they may not be who they say they are. So for me, it was a reminder of how important it was to take my energy back and trust that my own voice and my own transmission was enough and that I didn't necessarily need to keep listening to people that I couldn't necessarily trust or didn't show that they were connecting in community and being intentional. So it's no surprise more and more people are finding out esoteric knowledge and choosing to awaken into their highest and most radiant self. So know that this knowledge that we are coming across, especially if you follow my account and you really like human design information, know that this information of the gene keys and understanding how we are different as human beings can really awaken you to how expansive you are as a human being on this plane and how much you can do. I know specifically as someone who is a person of color, a Black person, and a West Indian person, I had a lot of limiting beliefs because of what I was told or what no one told me I was capable of from a very small age. And I lived my life, a lot of it in a box because I just did that. A lot of had to do with the conditioning around me, what I was able to see. And thankfully, with social media and with more people being shocked into awakening, I was able to see people like me interested in the things I was interested in and also being extremely successful and happy because, of course, monetary success is great. But as we've seen with the solar eclipse, it's not everything at all if you don't have this. So knowing that I can live a life and be grounded, I can have a spiritual practice, I can see people who are spiritual people make money has helped me really understand that like there is a greater there's a greater presence taking care of us. And if you are meant to deliver a message that is for consciousness in this season, in this time, trust that it'll happen and trust that being of service is why we're here to begin with. So, prioritizing that, you will receive what you're meant to receive. All right, so now let's talk about human design, gate 51. And I keep seeing this like curly spot. All right. All right, I'm gonna just let it rock. So human design, gate 51, the gate of shock. So the shadow frequency of shock is agitation because it's literally the feeling of shock or the vibration of shock. The gift is initiative because when we feel shocked into something, it usually puts us into action to take initiative. And the city is awakening when it completely crumbles who we were and everything we knew before and opens up a new level of consciousness and understanding of the world. So here I wrote, shocking events can leave the body feeling overwhelmed and even numb. This month, consider ways to transmute the daily shocks of life with a personal choice to take action. And initiative is all about personal choice. And this falling in Aries season, gate 51 is an Aries gate, is so important to tap into that energy of fire and feel the fire within and allow it to move through your body. As a projected gate, shocks energetically affect others, as I previously mentioned. The gift of shock leads to great personal power and genius. Whenever you choose to transmute your shocks, your trauma, with creative expression by taking initiative, you activate your own empowerment. And actually, if you guys check out my video, anyone watching here, check out my video previously where my last long form video was on social media fears. And I basically talk about helping spiritual creators overcome their fear of showing up online. I spoke in that moment of the shock I experienced, and then also another shock I experienced that was a negative shock I experienced about a news story I read, and then a positive shock I experienced about a TikTok spiritual creator who was basically giving motivation, and it actually led to my own creative expression, which led to that video on overcoming social media fears and wanting to help spiritual creators kind of know the importance of staying grounded but also being intentional and conscious creators. So if you want to watch that, check that video out because it heavily relates to human design gate 51, and I talk about the gate and a few other human design gates. It's kind of like experiencing gaining the knowledge of human design, but I do it through a contemplative expression. So I kind of float through the gates, but I do think it's very foundational, so it's easy for someone listening to understand it. And that was kind of the goal whenever I speak about human design, because it can come off as a very complicated and just scientific system, and it really is a synthesis to help us understand who we are in an esoteric, metaphysical, spiritual, and scientific way through our genes and DNA. So, following your destiny and taking the road less traveled is a theme this month. To awaken, we must first step into our creative individualism to see how expansive and encompassing the human spirit truly is. So, whenever you feel a shock, let that be a reminder to do something creative or to transmute that energy into something positive, because that is literally what it's meant for us to change the narrative, and change our DNA by how we respond to our environment. And it also changes other people because, again, this is a projected gate. So if you're in a state of shock and you're vibrating you're, energetically vibrating in a chaotic way, anyone who interacts with you in that moment in time is going to feel it. And I'll quickly kind of digress, but I went through a period where I wanted to be a support for a friend who was going through a very traumatic situation. And in doing so, I took on a lot of the vibrations of that situation. And I had to do a lot of energetic work and physical work to release it. And had I known all of that, I probably would not have been as close to the situation as I was, unfortunately. But at the time, I just was really focused on wanting to be of service to that person and wanting to do the best to help, because it was kind of a scary situation and I didn't feel like they were meant to be alone. But I also realized like it also took me like a whole year and a half, 2 years to kind of like mentally process and release the energetic shock, the agitation that that situation made me feel. So think about that. And know that a lot of the shocks we experience are also tied to gate 44 in human design. And gate 44 is the gate of interference, it's the gate of karmic relationships. So know that often when we're in karmic relationships or experiences that are meant to teach us how to break out of these patterns, we will go through shock. And that shock when we put initiative of change, of being empowered instead of being helpless, it can really transform us for the better. I used the shock of that situation to build this YouTube channel and have over hundreds of videos because I was like, that was so traumatizing. I want to transmute it by being able to help as many people, one, not have to go through that, two, empower themselves, and also just like, I wanted to feel empowered. I wanted to feel like I couldn't help that person, but maybe I can help other people. So now let's talk about human design. Gate 57, which is the program partner of Gate 51 and was transiting in our conscious earth during the new moon in Aries. So Gate 57 is called the gate of the shaman commonly in human design, and in the Chinese I Ching, classically called the I Ching, this gate is known as the gentle wind, and it's represented by the elements of wind, wood over wind, wood. So we see we went from the energy of shock to now going into the elementals of being grounded. And we see why it's so great that these energies are transiting together, because with shocks, we need a reminder of how to ground. So, gate 57, here's what I wrote. In the Chinese I Ching, gate 57 is known as the gentle wind. The elements are wind, wood over wind, wood. As wind and wood are both earthly elements, here's the reminder that to truly hear the voice of our intuition, we must be grounded. And this is a splenic gate, so it's really all about tapping into that intuition in the moment, because it's a gut instinct, it's about survival. The 57th gate is located in the spleen, and it's all about our gut instincts and ability to respond to our environment in the moment. Our environment is affected by our vibration, which is connected to the programming partner gate 51. We live in a vibrational universe, and the shadow of agitation, hyperactivity, is felt by all. Choose activities this month that help to release cooped up energy and help you stay in tune with yourself. So I mentioned specifically hot yoga. For me, just the heat alone helps to detoxify you and get you more limber, especially if you're someone who struggles to get into deep stretches in yoga. Maybe trying a heated class or working with sauna, or because and these are also fiery energies, which is perfect for fire sign Aries. But doing these things can really help ground the body. As I mentioned, grounding and movement are key this month, for one, channeling your inner fire, but also dealing with the outer fire, right? So now, since we've got really deep, we've talked about some things, let's talk about some self-care for this new moon in Aries. So for self-care, obviously, spend. Next is write your new moon intentions for the next 18 months. Again, when we have something like a total solar eclipse, eclipses affect us for months, perhaps even years to come. So I say a good gauge is over the next 18 months. You can already think about now what you season for catching up on emails and connecting with other people. I often am not in the space to do that, but this new moon has really been great for that. I feel like I have the fire and the energy to kind of just like respond quickly back to people, connect with others, set up receiving and not so much doing the output. Next is plan a solo trip. So now is a great season to plan a solo trip and go somewhere. As I've talked about movement, being a different energetic environment and morphogenetic field can be really, really great for shaking things up within your body and also creating new shocks. Sometimes getting out of your comfort zone means putting yourself in positions that will cause you to be shocked into awakening. And although that could be very, very uncomfortable, it could be extremely life changing. And like some of the best gifts can come out. And birth can also be a traumatic experience, but it has made me grow up in ways I never thought I could. It's made me a better person and just way more aware of just like life and like the expansiveness of life and like how things can go awry, because I'm now like, oh, I know what it's like to be a mom. Yeah, feel free to share what you've noticed during this new moon. I would love to read it. So next is yoni steam. So know that yoni steaming and taking care of our womb and taking care of your root is very important in our ability to handle shocks, especially since our root center holds a lot of the conditioning that we have from childhood, because the root center is all about our safety, it's about belonging, it's about our home and maybe our childhood home. So focusing on, you know, keeping that area cleansed and keeping kind of like our bodies healed in that way, our root healed, our foundation healed, can really, we can see the impacts of that in other aspects of our lives, and how we feel safe. And if you feel safe, you show up in the world with love over fear. When we don't feel safe, we start to get into a fearful energy, and that fearful energy can lead us into psychosis. It can lead us into making very rash decisions that aren't good for us or other people. So prioritizing personal safety, prioritizing being in a space and a mood that helps you feel safe, an environment that helps you feel safe, is very, very important. Especially after you reach the age of 30. Human design talks about this often. Once you hit the age of 30, it is so, so, so important to be in the right environment if you want to continue to grow and expand into the person that you hope to be. When you are not in an environment that is conducive to you, it's similar to being a plant in an environment that's not conducive. It leads to decay. So we want to be focused on growing, on building, on expanding. So choosing the environment, and making the best of the environment you have, if you can't necessarily choose the environment, is going to be really important. Next is release expectation. So right after the new moon, our sun just got out of transiting gate 42, and gate 42 is known as the gate of growth, gate of increase, the gate of benefiting in human design. It's been called all those names. And in the I Ching, why am I forgetting the name in the I Ching? Either way, the it's about benefiting, but it's also about releasing, right? Because the gift frequency of gate 42 is detachment, is being able to be detached from situations and environments. And in this state of detachment, we actually receive the growth and the increase we desire. So the shadow frequency of gate 42, things that go against growth, is when we are either flaky, we are not sticking to commitments long enough, and we're kind of just moving through life without the expectation something's going to stick, or we are grasping, we are holding on too dearly to our expectations of what we expect to hope for. And it makes it really, really hard for the universe to benefit us, because we are holding on to something old, which is not allowing for the increase. And the city frequency is celebration. Once we are able to really understand the cycle of life and move within them and know when to leave things behind when it's necessary, but also keeping the commitments and things that are for our benefit and also going to increase with us, then we can really celebrate life and step into that real growth. And real growth is being able to release expectations, be in a state of celebration and joy at all aspects, and know that what is meant to stay will stay. Oh, it's my angel number. The time. So now let's talk about some writing prompts. Am I sharing with others my inner truth? As it's Aries season, are we speaking to what we identify with, what our opinions are? Gate 17 recently transit earlier in Aries season, and gate 17 is literally the gate of opinions. How can I respond to life with grace? Part of releasing expectation is being able to be in a state of grace and having grace. And this gate is also called favor or adorning. In the I Ching, it's literally called woman because having grace is being able to have favor and trust in that favor and attract things to you based off that favor. Next is, where can I unblock energy? And I think when I put it on the Instagram post, I changed it to, where can I release energy? Because I feel like that wording is a little more positive towards what we're doing. Where can I release energy? It could be in your physical body, especially if you're feeling the shocks, the agitation. You may need to release physical energy in your body. I know for me, yesterday was the first time I was back in a hot room for months, and I literally felt like my heart wanted to pop out my chest because of all the energy that was just in my body that was being released. And I was holding these postures, and as I'm holding it and allowing it to release without continually moving, it was amazing just to know, just to see what how my body felt after, and also know that like this vibrational thing is definitely real, right? Like I can feel the energy leaving, I could feel how I feel better and lighter after class. All of it matters. And lastly, what changes need to be made in my personal life? That's interesting. Mine used to be 813. We all have angel numbers, and I think it's really, really cool because like we are made up of a bright vibrational universe, as I said, and math is like the foundation of this universe. So if you're able to understand numbers and read them, especially for the benefit of you, I would always say don't get too caught up in the numbers. If you find yourself becoming anxious or having agitations, then you might want to um, you detach. But if it's always a positive, or if it's bringing you, if it's bringing you joy and you're seeing and it's helping you, helping to guide you, then I would say absolutely. Um, let's see. Did I cover everything? I absolutely did. Oh, and then the last thing I want to talk about is for the solar eclipse, there was a comet called the 12 Ponds Comet that passed in the sky through Aries. And when I looked up the 12 Ponds comment, there is information in my community section of this channel, because as soon as I saw it, I kind of put some information. I'd highly recommend checking that out if you're really, really interested on what was happening in the sky during the eclipse. But for me, when I looked up the comet and I also saw that the comet came from like a draconian, like another comet set of comets that were called the draconian comets, I thought of the fact that it was a reminder of moving through your personal shadows to reach the light. And that can be difficult because sometimes our shadows bring us to aspects and sides of ourselves that we don't want to see, but we're human. So completely avoiding your shadows can actually cause you to move into a space of psychosis. Because what happens, I feel like, is when people avoid their shadows, they then become, they think they become God. And whenever you think you become God, you start to move out of alignment with the plan God has for you. And whether you believe in God or just like a source energy, universe, I'm speaking on that, right? It's really, really important to understand that we are equal, but we are also part of this beautiful universe. And there is a presence that looks out for us and guides us. And honoring that presence will help us honor each other better. It helps us honor the planet better. And yeah, show up authentically, because then you don't have anything to hide. You're not trying to be anything you're not. You're honoring your shadows, you're honoring your feelings, and that's literally what we're here on earth to do, is to grow and self-actualize. And when I say honor the shadows, I don't mean doing crazy things. I'm talking about honoring that, hey, I might need more rest than I realize, but I'm trying to show up for community. That might not be the priority if you need rest. And the shadow is, I'm still in this physical body, so I need to prioritize that I still have to take care of my needs as a human in this human body. So I hope this video helps. Oh, I was about to say, should I look into the numerology? You absolutely can. I would say don't get too overwhelmed. I would always look for patterns, personal patterns first. So when you see 813, what has come up for you and what has it meant? Then, if you want to see other patterns, there's a great site. Actually, I'm going to look it up real quick for you, just because I know the World Wide Web is literally the World Wide Web. So maybe it's good to have some sort of place you can go to. So I know I can find, oh, yes. So I really like the site if you want to ever look up numerology or angel numbers, because there's two. One I saw more as a kid. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So yeah, sure. And I'm not gonna look up this, I'm not gonna, well, actually I already pulled up your specific number, but I really want to give you the site. So if you ever want to look up angel numbers, you can check out Sacred Scribes Angel Numbers blogspot. I feel like I've used that site or seen that site, and I feel like the energy and the frequency the information is in is pretty positive. So I would recommend someone going to that site. Of course, you can check other places online as well. And then specifically for this angel number, since it came up here, um, it says 813 is a blend of the attributes and energies of the number 8, number 1, and the vibrations of 3. 8, of course, represents karma, inner wisdom, personal power, and authority. 1 is creating your reality, uniqueness, and beginnings. And 3 is self expression, communication, and optimism. So when you're seeing 813, it brings the message that angels are infusing your thoughts, dreams, and ideas with divine love and guidance at this time. So use these positive energies for light working, spiritual, and healing practices. It also says that you could have manifested new opportunities to advance your soul's journey and to fully live your spiritual purpose. Be safe in the knowledge that your material needs are met and you are fully supported and guided by your angels. So that's actually very wonderful to see. And that's also very special because that's a very unique number pattern. It's not like repeating numbers, it's three different numbers. I know that the number 13 itself is rebirth, and then 8, of course, is karma. So 813, even if you wanted to separate it as 8 and 13, you could see it as releasing karma, or you've gotten to a place in your life where you no longer have karmic debt. And now it's about your dharma and being in service. And you could be stepping into that place of being in service and being a creator or a healer. So that's exciting. And I'm happy that helped. Let's see. I think that's it for my notes. I'm hoping that my future moon transits are given to you guys when it's happening, but I also know that the value in this information will be value. It's the value does is priceless, right? And whether the transit's happening or if it's a few days after, you guys can still gain the knowledge. And also, I kind of do feel like as a spiritual creator, the last thing I want to do is create, you know, dynamics where someone's waiting for me to go live just so they can get information, because I want you guys to remember that you are your guide. I'm just here as a person to be another guide, and maybe see into things that you can't see, or bring enlightenment in things that you may not have awareness of, or confirmation. But I, in no way should my words supersede your own experience. And with that, that's why I really like kind of posting after the transits or when I'm able to, because then I know it's within the flow of life, and whoever's meant to find it is meant to find it. So I'm going to wrap up this video and it'll be posted. It was great. Thank you for the stream. I learned a lot. Amazing. Thank you, Lace Weaver. I'm going to wrap up this video, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Stay tuned. I have tons of content. If you ever want to look up the human design rave lines or the I Ching lines, I already have hundreds of videos on my channel where I sit just like this and record each line for you guys. So it has been a major project, and I've kind of fallen behind some of the gates and transits, which ironically, there's a spiritual meaning for that too for me, because a lot of the times the gates and transits I've fallen behind, I'll notice it's in the same center even. So then I'm like, oh, that's actually an area I need to work on. So yeah, know that we are growing together, learning together, and I hope that all the content you find on this page is valuable on your journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh my God, I can't click this off, guys.